So, hello everyone. Thanks for having us here in Krakow, Poland. Today, what we're going to talk about is basically a research that we conducted. I'm coming from the malware research area. I'll be introducing myself in just a minute, but I'm part of a team called The Great in Kaspersky Lab. And Dani here, my colleague, he's a student at Berkeley, data science. He's more of a machine learning kind of person. So what happened in the beginning of the research, while I was searching for malware, I found like a few artifacts which somehow blurred the border between what's a malware and what is actually a different artifact which was uploaded by I don't know who. Suspectly, it was either like a human or a machine. Yeah, thanks. And it contained some interesting / sensitive information, and we thought, why not? We will try to do like a research around it and find out how many artifacts can we find, how we can build like a big type of platform, intelligence platform that can actually find that information, understand what's the content of the binaries or the documents, and tag it as sensitive data and the specific content in the data. So me and Dani, we came from Israel, two random people with a big age difference between us. We actually met a few years ago and already did a big research around vulnerabilities, web vulnerabilities. One of them was introduced in Code Blue. Who knows Code Blue? Tokyo, Japan? No? Code Blue? Great. So it's a very big conference in Japan, around 1,200, 1,500 people, conducted in Tokyo. And we were presenting there the Facebook messaging API vulnerability, which was used in the wild by attackers, infecting Facebook users mainly, stealing Google Drive keys and such in order to reinfect other users. I'll show you in the next slide. Other than that, we will be presenting the same presentation, only with some different things between the slides in CCCC, which is the cybercrime conference in Copenhagen. It will be just in 2 days from now. After that, we have the Black Hat US. So if you will be in Black Hat USA, we'll be there in the briefings, and BrewCon as well. So if you're in each one of these conferences, we'll be happy to see you. We are also the founders of VirusBay. Anyone knows what VirusBay is? VirusBay? Anyone here is a malware researcher? So basically, VirusBay already have 4,000 followers on Twitter. It's a very familiar platform in the malware research community. We have around 1,500 malware researchers from all around the world, including big companies such as Kaspersky Lab, for example, FireEye, Mandiant, Symantec, you name it. Also, we have almost 20, 25 CERT teams, above 100 SOC teams. So it's a very robust and with a variety of professional people. So you can either follow us over Twitter, or you can actually visit the website, which is beta.virusbay.io. And if you want to be invited, because you cannot register at the moment, you will have to tweet on Twitter so we can understand that you want an invite code, and we will give you one. So a little word about Israel before we go forward. Basically, what you see in the picture is Tel Aviv. I don't know if you know Tel Aviv, one of the wonders of the world, in my opinion. If you ever visited Tel Aviv or even Israel, you probably like it, so we invite you to Israel. Next big thing that we did was winning the Eurovision. Anyone seen the Eurovision? Knows what version? Anyone knows which song this is? What? So you rush to YouTube and see it, because we're number one. in the song contests. So not only in song contests, but we could always say like, oh, we are a cyber nation and stuff like that. But hey, songs are hard to write and to perform. So I think it's something to be proud of. And in soccer, less. We won't be in FIFA in Russia 2018. So bad luck for us. I think we used to combat Brazil and France every FIFA, right? No, no, not really. We're not very good at soccer, but we have the song contest on our side, so we're good. Regarding Facebook, I just mentioned the vulnerability in the Facebook API in 2016, but it was something that actually brought us together and made us think that there are stuff that we need to look for which are other than malware. And we're going to show you specifically how the research was conducted and what we found. Basically, what happened in that research, if you want to go read about it, it's called Tag Me If You Can. We have YouTube, it's on YouTube from Code Blue, and you can also read it in the Kaspersky blog. But basically, people were infected through a notification which arrived to their Facebook profile, and that was because the attackers somehow exploited an ID which was placed in a messaging blob on a third-party website with an ID which is actually part of the Facebook website. So once the IDs were mixed, Facebook thought, the website of Facebook thought that this post is located on a third-party website and then sent a notification. The attackers changed the link, and then the notification actually went to Google Drive and downloaded the malware. It's really interesting. So if you want, you can go ahead. And we'll be rushing into our specific research today. A little disclaimer. We are here to show things which are there for years. So for years and years, there is sensitive data going on a lot of data sources. We're just going to give you a peek into what we saw and how we built a platform around it. Also, we're not going to point any fingers. So we found it we found it happening in an automated way by either machines, we will call it, and I will tag it specifically in the next slides, or humans, employees, yada yada, which were uploading sensitive data. So we're not going to point fingers at each of the directions. Specifically to those of you who work in organization, online sandboxes, and I think sandboxes and multi-scanners are very bad for an organization. When I'm saying online sandboxes and multi-scanners, you probably know what I'm talking about. So this is one thing we want you to remember. The next thing, that if someone has an account, like a private key or some account which has more permissions than what you have, it means he might have access to that information that you're uploading. So if you're suspecting like a PDF or suspecting a document, and it might contain like password or salaries or whatever from your organization, from your team. I know many of you are security oriented, but we've seen security oriented people also making the same mistakes. So there is a big probability that your data is leaked to that source and someone can pick it up, and we will show you exactly how. So your network devices, we also found organizations that might have network devices or security devices within their network that were flagged to scan files, suspicious files, on online scanners or on sandboxes, which are online. So you can actually grab the file later if you know how to search for it. So we tried to understand in the research, why are we facing that problem? So we divided it to two pillars, which we thought are most convenient to understand. So one of them is the incident response, and the other is the security products. We start with the incident response. So in my opinion, like as an organization, being under attack is very scary. I've conducted a lot of incident response in my professional life, and I think from the organization point of view, it's very scary for them. They have no idea whether they can actually overcome the problem, whether it's a ransomware or a miner or whatever. And the SOC team not always have the skills needed. So you don't know if the incident response team, it's a problem to how to measure the team, how to know that they've done like the most to reduce the issue. Are you secure at the moment? So in this area, like online sandboxes and scanners and that are very convenient for teams who lack the experience or lack the understanding that it might cause a problem later on, and they just upload stuff online just to check if it's malicious. In the security products area, it was actually very surprising to see that, you know, it's very obvious to see like an employee or SOC team or whatever, without pointing fingers, that is making a mistake uploading some files to online scanners, but security products are doing it as well. So in that terms, can you click? Click, 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 click. So detecting a threat, we know it's hard. When you write a security product or you're trying to detect, for example, malicious artifacts, specifically in memory, it's not very easy to do. And so if you want to do it in a more professional way, or at least create a base of detections using online scanners, and I know it comes, I don't know if it comes in a surprise for you, but it came in a surprise to me that we've seen products using online scanners and sandboxes in their product after deploying it inside the client's area. Now the client has no idea. He's not reversing the code to understand where is it being, where is it going. They can always like close specific, specific sockets outside, but in a lot of incidents that I've seen, it wasn't happening. So it was constantly scanning on online scanners. So can we go? Yeah. So what we've seen in these incident response areas is a lack of 4 pillars. One of them is the management. So the management problem is actually not knowing which of the teams has which expertise. So once you don't know what your team is able or capable of, it's a problem, because when an attack occurs, you don't have the idea of how to actually supervise your team to not make mistakes. Now, if the team has no idea, or you don't have the right budget for these type of expertise, or you don't acquire these the special tools for them to do it like inside the organization, they will probably go for the easiest, and they will run their test on online scanners. The other issue is awareness with the team itself. So if they don't have any awareness of what happens on the other side, if they don't know that on the other side, Kaspersky researchers, for example, has access or extra privileges on some platforms, and they can actually collect that information, or as we've seen in 2015, hacking team were using it to collect artifacts which contain sensitive information. They have no idea, so it's a little problematic. And the last one is actually training for that team. So if you don't train them to use your own scripts or your own stuff, so they will probably go to the online solution. So a slight example, just a quick one. I don't know if you ever tried it, but if you go, for example, to hybrid analysis, you know hybrid analysis? Yeah? What are you doing here? Like, you don't know hybrid analysis. I'm thinking, like, who's in the crowd? So basically, hybrid analysis is a big sandbox. It was acquired by CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is a big security company in the US. And if you go about searching for the word message on hybrid analysis, you will find a lot of EMLs. Now, the reason the EML is there is for three reasons. Either it was uploaded automatically, or it was uploaded by an employee, or by a third party which has no connection to either of them. Now, a slight example, if you click 1 or 2, you will see it's blurred on purpose, but you will see that that is actually a PDF with personal and confidential information about a person and about a company, which is actually signed by someone who has like a really big influence on the US market, like a side note. And it's from May 2018, so it's very new. It's not like a decoy. It's the real thing. And you can find these by the thousands, not by the like 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. So then we understood like there is something here. There is like a big thing here that we need to find, or we need to research, and we need to also maybe build a tool for other organizations to use to understand if they are vulnerable to that problem, or if they are leaking stuff online without even knowing about it. Because like a small side note, we already approached 1 or 2 of them, and we understood that they are in that situation. They had no idea. So the starting point was paid and non-paid services online, and repositories, which I'll go one by one in a minute, and some other data sources that we found useful for our platform. For materials, we used Yara rules, which everyone is familiar with Yara rules? Yeah? So for those of you who don't know, Yara is basically a programming language. What you can do with this programming language, and mainly for us malware researchers, is to filter out binary code. So if you have the Yara engine, which is by the way open source, you can download it fully and implement it in your server. And you can actually take a data set of binaries and search within that data set for these specific binaries. We added some black magic, which Dani calls data science. I have no idea what this is, but he will talk about it like in a more extent way. And malware research, which is my 2 cents into that data to understand that we actually find the right information that we're looking for. Now the goal was, come on, we don't have a clicker, so forgive us. I'll do like this. The goal is to prove that data is being unwillingly exfiltrated. So for me, if a person uploads sensitive information, it's also unwillingly being exfiltrated, because if that person was trained or being aware of what he's doing, he wouldn't probably be doing it. So we also want to understand if it can be stopped. So about the data collection, we actually have a lot of areas where we can search for these specific files, and you can also do the same. So code repositories and open source, I won't go by the name because you probably are thinking about the name, and I was specifically asked not to use naming convention in that sources. A script and paste repositories where people are actually pasting their code or pasting email content or sensitive keys, and it's just a matter of understanding what the keys are used for, and then you can access these machines. The malware repositories, which are obviously people think a PDF or email or a document is a malware, and it's actually not. And it was actually a real PDF file which came from the finance and contained sensitive information about that organization. Or it's, for example, a conversation between 2 VPs from Fortune 500. Multi-scanners, which are being used automatically. We've witnessed a use of automated machines on multi-scanners scanning files, because you can see in two things. Like one, it was uploaded from an API, and the second one is the file naming was like a serial number. So it's not an email that was accepted, but we also, you can see in the header of the files, in the header of the emails, that it wasn't uploaded manually. Also, online sandboxes, you can access them, download files if you have online sandboxes. If you know AnyRun, for example, it's a good example for an online sandbox that you can actually go download files from. And forum and social platforms. Social platforms contain a lot of information. A lot of people upload questions to these platforms, also in forums. So it's a good data set for us, or data source for us to use in our algorithms. Go. So example for Yara rules. One example is the PowerPoint OLE. So a lot of PowerPoints were uploaded, like a lot of OLE, we can say. Some of them, as we know, malicious ones, contains the macros or contains some sort of one of the CVEs, if it's, I don't know, like one of the OLE CVEs. But if it doesn't, and it doesn't have any positives on the multiscanner, so we know this file might not contain malicious content and maybe contains any sensitive information. Now, of course, we haven't opened each one of them to look at it. I just called Dani. He worked his black magic, and we can actually automate the process. Also in EMLs, Outlook files, and private keys and scripts, and we have, I think, dozens of those Yara rules that we use throughout the research. In addition to speed up the process, we use the AWS Lambda. Anyone knows AWS Lambda? So it's being used as a serverless instead of like instead of opening like a new server. So you can use AWS Lambda. It's very fast. We used it mainly after that we got the feed from the Yara rule. So after we got a set of binaries and files and documents that were suspicious to us to contain sensitive information, we took it to AWS Lambda and took their SHA-1, did the analysis, and categorized the information. Black magic time. Get ready.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah. Let's wait for it to be over for a sec. All right, so a brief overview of the architecture we had is we used Lambda like Ido showed you. So we basically, every 12 hours, we would collect all the data from the sources that we have. We would download all the samples and move them to a group of workers that would parse all the EMLs, take all the data out, put it in one of our databases. And then from there, okay, so one of the things we wanted to see is where the leakage is from, what source it's from. So we use the graph network to basically see, it's a directional graph network. So we want to see who's sending emails to who. And you can see that's just like 10% of all the data we had. And you can already see there's about 5 big clusters that the middle, like in each cluster, you can see the middle points. So they're mostly the sources of the leak. And we found about 250 of these sources, which are companies from Fortune 500 to Fortune 1000 companies. It's global. You can see the map. We thought maybe it's like maybe one area in the world where they're using some specific product, but we found out that it's spread worldwide. So first part, we took the email in the subject. We wanted to, most emails had a bunch of HTML in them and other tokens that we couldn't use. So we used Apache Spark. So it would take us about an hour to parse 50,000 emails instead of days. We would extract the URLs, IP addresses, and emails from each one of them. And we basically get a list. We get an object for each one, get a small list of all the important things we had in there. We used NLTK, which is a pretty nice Python library for natural language processing. So we would just do stemming, which will take the stem from each word instead of taking the word itself, take out the English stop words and punctuation, and remove all the tokens that we couldn't parse. So content analysis, we did name entity extraction, which is basically we're locating all the entities that are company names, people names, money, dates, locations, product names, which is not rule-based. It's all, there's a trained model. We use Spacey, which is also a pretty nice Python library for natural language processing. As you can see here, you can see like the first word. This is just an example. It's not a real email. You can see Walmart, which is an organization, Jet.com, $3.3 billion, which is money. So these are tags that are attached to each email automatically without looking at any of the content inside. Next thing we did is topic modeling. We used LDA, which is latent diclet allocation. So we basically take each of our documents and look for words. And from all the documents we had, we get about 7 topics and about 5 words which are in each topic. That way we can categorize the whole document pretty nicely. We use GenSim and stlearn to do the LDA. And yeah, we'll show you the topics right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can see all the words are stemmed, so it's a bit harder to read them. But first one is information, confidential. Second topic we had is investments, finance, trade, banks. Third one, insurance, transactions, future, tax, and just goes on, credit cards, projects, bidding, pharma, bio, and business. So each email would get 1 or 2 topics, tops. And you can see these are pretty serious things in terms of trading, bank information. With name entity abstraction, we also get roles, which is like CEO, president, and you can understand that it's...
Yeah, for example, we found in one of the files a big real estate company from China, which they were about to go on their IPO, and we read the file a week before they were actually going out to the IPO. So this is like super 10 times super sensitive data, which we had no idea how it came there, but we're 99% sure no human has uploaded that information. So that is just like the tip of the iceberg of what we could find.
Okay, so next thing we want to know where the leak's coming from. There is a bunch of products. Each email had their own headers. Each company has a bunch of security products adding their own headers on the way in each layer. So again, we used some data science for that in order not to go through thousands and thousands of headers manually. So we used TF-IDF, which is term frequency inverse document frequency, basically filtering out the words that are relevant. Out of all the headers, we split the headers by the dash, took out all the common headers. So we got a pretty nice vector for each document of which headers might be relevant. Using k-means to cluster it. So basically, we wanted to know how the things are spread out by distance between them. We use cosine similarity as a distance metric. You can see a small graph. This is just a representation. And right there, you can already see that there's 3 clusters, each one a different color, which are 3 different security products which are leaking those emails. Yeah, so as Ido said before, recapping everything, online sandboxes, online malware repositories, things that are pretty trivial and a bunch of products are using are very dangerous. You have no idea what they're leaking out. And if you pay some pretty good money to these products, they'll give you nice access and nice way to filter information out, like using YARA rules to filter EMLs, which have 0 positive detections. And check your devices. Make sure the flags for scanning outside are off.
So actually, one last thing, we brought some swags over here. Within that capsule, there is this shirt and some stickers. Some of them are over here. So if you want to come grab one, go ahead. And if you have any questions regarding the research, feel free to either ask us now or just approach the stage. So thank you.